Hi everybody and welcome to week 1, day 1 of my ChessGoals study plan. I will be following a plan that's very similar to the expert plan that we have on the website. This is one of our premium 12-week study plans. It gives a day-by-day checklist of different activities to complete. And what I did was I printed out a version of the plan. You can see here. Then as I do the activities, I check off the boxes. I'll be making a couple adjustments to the plan as I go, and I'll talk about those a little bit in the daily updates. One thing that I am not doing currently is I'm not entered in any daily games. We actually have a ChessGoals daily tournament starting at the beginning of March. So if you join the ChessGoals club, you can enter our daily tournament, which is going to be 3 days per move, and it's all ChessGoals club members. So I'll be playing that every day. But until then, I'm going to hold off on the daily games. And for the first day, the study plan recommends that I play 2 15 plus 10 games and analyze one of those games. I'm going to tweak that slightly and play 2 10 plus 0 games. Or I should say I played 2 10 plus 0 games, and I'm going to analyze both of them. Alright, so let's look at the games. This was the first game I played. With the black pieces against Rapid Chess 01. His rating is 1999. I think my rating was a little under 2100 going into this game. So we started out with e4 c6, which is Caro-Kann. And I was very excited to see a Caro-Kann because just this morning we published the ChessGoals Caro-Kann repertoire. I'll put a link to that in the description below. So this is called the classical variation. And now I'm playing the Tartakower with knight f6. He declines, and these lines are really fun. So now I can play h5, and I'm actually trying to kick this knight on g3 already by playing h4. So he blocks, bishop g4, f3, and at this point you can see we both have 9 minutes 45 seconds left. I spent quite a bit of time here playing bishop back to c8, 35 seconds. I was considering queen c7, but for some reason I just couldn't remember if that was for sure the move. And I had some hesitations playing it because I thought, well, after queen c7, white can just play knight 1 to e2. But going back and looking at the repertoire, this is the recommended line. Queen c7, knight 1 to e2, retreat the bishop, and if white plays bishop f4, we can just put the queen out on b6. And now we have this pretty straightforward plan. Pawn g6, bishop g7, castle kingside, knight a6, bring the rooks in the center, and play for c5. So I think the next time I'll try to remember that, queen c7 is the move there. So here my opponent played knight e4. Now this move immediately jumped out at me as a probable mistake. Something just feels wrong about that. So I thought the way to take advantage of this was to capture the knight and then focus on these dark squares around the white king. So we can see g3, f2 are open, e3 is potentially open. So I took the knight and played e5. And this is a pretty thematic idea in some of the other Caro-Kann variations too. After d takes e5, I do not want the queen trade immediately because I think I can put some pressure on the white king. So queen a5 check, and then scoop up the pawn on e5. Now at this point I already felt I had a pretty comfortable advantage. My queen's hitting b2, eyeing the g3 square. Both my bishops are open. I'm probably going to get a rook on d8 soon. And white has to figure out how to get their king to safety. After knight f3, queen g3 check, king e2, I already felt that this was probably a win. I just have to try to play precisely and not let white trade off too many pieces. So I played bishop e6, eyeing the check, and that encouraged my opponent to play b3, which is a bit of a slow move. So they need to figure out how do they get these pieces into the game on the back rank. b3 is a slow move, and now I need to figure out which of my minor pieces do I develop. One thing I'll note, when I did my last version of the expert study plan for ChessGoals, I was taking careful notes on all of my slower games. And one of the things I need to work on, which sounds simple, but really it's something that we all need to think about, was developing my pieces more quickly. So oftentimes I would overthink things and try to get too fancy, and the strongest move was just to develop a new piece. So that was definitely going through my mind in this game, and that's why I played bishop to c5. But in hindsight, I actually should have played knight to d7, because bishop to c5, the problem with this move is it's starting to encourage trades from white. There's queen e1 ideas, there's bishop e3 ideas, and as these pieces start to trade off, the white king becomes much safer. So had I played knight d7, it's just a bit more flexible, and after queen e1, queen g6, there's still this pressure on the e-pawn, and there's no easy way for white to trade off my dark square bishop, or to even offer a trade at this point. So here my opponent plays queen e1. I retreat, hitting this pawn. And now I'm just trying to keep developing. I see that the opponent's eyeing knight takes e6, but I'm okay with that. Yeah, I need to get the rooks into the game. And I could play bishop a3 check, really, at the last couple of moves, but I didn't really see any advantage to that because the white king would just go to b1. So bishop a3, king to b1. And I figured I could probably play it later. Still, my objective is get the rooks into the game. So after bishop to e2, offering the trade, I'm still deciding, okay, let's bring a rook in. There could be tactics with sacrificing rook takes bishop. So my opponent moves the bishop. Now I play bishop to a3 and bring the other rook in. So with 2 minutes on the clock against 4.5 minutes or 5 minutes for my opponent, here I'm starting to already think about time management. There's no increment in this game, 10 plus 0. So what I wanted to do was just keep all my pieces in the center, put them on good squares, and I know the tactic should be in my favor due to white's lack of development here. So here my opponent makes a blunder. And this is just something good to remember too. If you always put your pieces on good squares, when in doubt, develop a new piece. When in doubt, improve your worst piece. If you do those things, it's more likely that your opponent will make mistakes. It puts more pressure on them because all of your pieces are really doing a great job controlling the board. So here, this is a blunder by my opponent, but really they had a tough position to play to begin with. The next few moves I'll play through kind of quickly. We were getting low on time, and I'm just trying to increase the pressure. So here I'm looking at rook d1 check. So they block. Now I'm threatening queen takes bishop. So every move I'm kind of creating a new threat and trying to give my opponent tough decisions. Bishop c1, but now I see I can sink the queen right down into d1. This is threatening a mate, and it's really hard for white to get out of this. So they sacrifice their rook for the bishop, but then I take the knight in return, and now you can see I'm renewing the threat of the checkmate. White guards the bishop, but then I bring the rook down, and after I take here, white resign, but the game will continue. Queen takes checkmate. Okay, so takeaways from this game. One thing that we recommend in the ChessGoals plan is after every game, do some takeaways. And I wrote a post on game analysis, which I will link in the description below. In that post, I have sort of different levels of game takeaways. I consider this sort of like a level 3 game takeaway where you just go through the whole game by yourself, try to identify critical moments, and put a couple positive and negative thoughts to the game, sentences that can help you remember those things for the next time you play. So for this game, my negative takeaways were in the opening. I need to do a better job remembering my theory. I don't think bishop c8 was too bad of a move, but this is something where I need to keep working on these lines. Even though I just made a course on the Caro-Kann, I haven't been revisiting those lines to really cement the ideas. Negative takeaway number 2, or constructive takeaway. In this position, I need to just be more precise. I need to calculate out that knight d7 is a stronger move than bishop c5 because it's avoiding some of the early trade offers by white. In terms of positive things in this game, I think there's really not too many big issues with the game. I felt I played well. The chart looked really nice. there's just a couple little bump ups, but overall I felt it was a pretty smooth game. Opening went well, endgame went well. Accuracy 97.8. Definitely have to be happy with that. So if you like this video, please click the like button and the subscribe button below, and you can click the bell for notifications. I'll try to do these videos at least every couple days. On the days I don't do the videos, I'll probably just do a blog post on chess.com. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.